All right, welcome back to Social Media Journalism. I'm Professor Robert Quigley, here to talk about the platforms that you will use as a social media journalist. Okay, let's start with Twitter. I think Twitter is probably the easiest platform for journalists for really reaching a big audience. You don't have to be friends with people for them to see your updates, and you can use Twitter in so many ways that help you tell a story. I know a lot of college students are relatively active on social media, including on Twitter, but I think often it's used as a way to talk to your friends. And there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, I don't want you to stop doing that, but I do want you to think about your personal presence on Twitter and what it looks like and how effectively you're using this tool to your advantage as a budding journalist. So here's my top Twitter tips. My number one tip, and I put it in all caps because I think this is super important, is to engage. You need to listen to your audience and you need to seek out conversations. I will emphasize this over and over during this class because it is so important. And I think that journalists often miss this. They think of it as a broadcast tool, as a one way street for information, and it's just not. There should be attempts to actually talk to the people who care about your product. It's good for you, it's good for them, and it's good for your product, and it's good for the content that you put together. And I don't want you using headlines that just come with the stories. Headlines on the web and in print are generally written for a specific type of medium. Twitter is a different medium. You need to be a little more conversational. Think about writing these like you're talking to a friend, but with your boss or me over your shoulder. She really should be that relaxed. I want you to use TweetDeck for this class. You saw TweetDeck on the previous screen. It looks really crazy, but once you get used to it, it's not so bad. There is a demo on TweetDeck in Canvas, so if you're not sure how to use it, go ahead and look at the demo, explore around with it, especially before you start your time on Twitter in this class, and get really comfortable with it because I think it's a really great tool for what we're trying to do. So you should space out your posts some. You don't want to have an update coming every 10 seconds at somebody. It'll overwhelm their feed and they'll unfollow you. You know, the rule of thumb is probably about once every 15 minutes. And note that I say that's for non-at-reply updates. So if you're doing links, try to spread them out a little bit. If you're doing news updates, spread them out a little bit, unless there's breaking news, and then you can speed that up some. But when you're doing at replies, you can do as many as you want. In fact, I totally encourage you to send tons and tons of at replies from the Social On account. I think it's a good habit to get into, and it really engages our audience. The thing about at replies is the only people who see that are people who follow both you and the person that you're at replying. So you're not overwhelming at least that many people's streams. And as always, check out my cheat sheet on Canvas. It has all kinds of tips from me on how to be better on Twitter. I have more Twitter tips. Use Twitter lists. They integrate well with TweetDeck. They're relatively easy to set up. And once you actually just start playing around with it, you'll figure it out. But it's important to have lists because you may start following lots and lots of people. I follow thousands of people personally, but I have really good, well-curated lists that I use to make sure that I don't miss updates from people who really matter as far as knowing my news. I think it's important that you answer everyone who replies at you unless they are a troll. And there's lots of trolls out there, so somebody might try to bait you into an argument or something like that. You don't need to reply to them. But I do think it's good that you reply to everybody else, even if it's just a simple thank you or okay, got it. And you really should be helpful and useful. We are journalists after all. We're in the information business. We're trying to help people understand the world. So if somebody has a question or needs help on something, go ahead and help them out. Twitter's a great platform for that. I want you to retweet in moderation. So it's okay to retweet somebody, but just remember that if you're constantly just retweeting people on your personal account or on an organizational account, after a while it just looks like you have nothing to say. And remember, this is a journalism course, and you should be fair and accurate and honest in everything you do, including on social media. Twitter is not a chance for you to go off on a tangent and be completely inaccurate or to spread rumors just because you think it's funny. Remember, people are going to be looking at you as a credible source of information. And be transparent on your own personal accounts. Make sure it's very clear who you are, put it in your bio. Don't try to hide behind some pseudonym. Don't put a picture of a cat in your avatar photo. Make it very clear that you are a journalist and unlock your account. I think a lot of people want to have private accounts for various reasons, and you may have a very good reason for wanting to have a private account. But for this class, at least for this semester, I want you to unlock your accounts. And now we're going to talk about Facebook, which is obviously the big social media network with more than 1 billion users, and many of them are pretty active as well. And they can't be wrong, and we need to figure out how to get our content in front of them. So here's my tips. Now, Facebook is a very personal medium, much more so than Twitter. I think people really see Twitter as more of a broadcast-style medium, whereas Facebook is friends, family, Aunt Frida, everything. So you don't want to intrude on their lives. You need to be very, very careful and proceed with caution. Putting content before a link is useful. A quote from a story, the most interesting fact, something that will draw a reader in and make them actually want to either interact with us or actually follow the link is a good thing to do. You can ask a question to draw responses, but I've seen this overdone. If you're putting, what do you think? What do you think? On every single post, nobody's going to think anything. So Facebook itself has said that anything with an image is going to get more traction than something that does not. Something you should know about Facebook is they have an algorithm that they set up that is supposed to show users content that is most useful to them. They base that algorithm off several things, including how often you interact with a brand or with another person. And so we're not going to get in front of every single person who likes our posts with every single update we do. In fact, it'll be a very small fraction of them. However, if you have a photo out there, it does give you some edge in the algorithm to help get in front of more people. Now, with Twitter, I said you should update every 15 minutes or somewhere in there. I think 10 minutes would even be okay. But with Facebook, you have to be very, very careful because Facebook tends to just stack things on top of each other in people's news feeds. You're going to get somebody unliking our page pretty quick, or at least turning off notifications or taking it out of their news feed. And so I suggest only updating once an hour. You can do more if there's really big news or if there's something that just happened after you posted your one post for the hour, but be very careful about that. So what do you do for the rest of your hour? Well, you can actually interact with people. So jump into the comments section, try to spark a conversation in any way you can. You could also act as our social media presence, as Social NN on other sites and actually comment. Check out the Facebook demo on Canvas to see how to do that. Don't schedule updates, and that goes for Twitter too. I'm really against scheduling of updates. I know a lot of news organizations actually do this. A lot of good news organizations do this, but it basically automates things and it turns us into robots. And the whole point of social media is to try to interact with our audience. And if there's nobody there, people are going to know nobody's there, and after a while, they're not going to want to have conversations with us. Don't give too much away on our Facebook page. In other words, don't copy and paste the entire story into the text at the top. Try to balance it out. You don't want to also completely tease them by just saying, you must read this, but you also want to just balance it out. You can open your personal Facebook profile to subscriptions, and I'm not saying you have to do that. You don't have to do it for this class. It's just something you should be aware of. You can have people follow you, much like on Twitter. And then you can choose in your updates what updates people in the public see. You never see that little globe thing with each update. You can change it to friends or you can make it public. When you make it public, people who are following you would see it even if they're not friends with you. Be careful though, I've noticed there is a lot of spam on Facebook, so you might get attacked by a bunch of people, or a bunch of robots actually, when you start posting publicly. You can always turn it off though. You should think about posting original photo galleries from events. And this might not be necessarily for this class, but if you're ever working in social media, it's a good thing to do. And you can ask readers to tag themselves in the photos. Of course, every time they do that, it shows up on their own stream. All their friends see it. It's a really good way to get things to go viral. The Facebook mobile app is just not very good for managing pages. In fact, it's terrible for managing pages. And I think one of the things I've seen in this class over and over is that students will see their co-students post something on Social NN. They'll go to like it using their personal Facebook mobile app. And when they do, it actually likes it as Social NN. So it looks like we're liking our own stuff. You can't post as Social NN using the Facebook personal app. And so it's not really that useful. There is a Facebook app called Pages that you might want to try out. It's not very full-featured, but it does allow you to manage the page a little bit better through a mobile phone. Again, see my cheat sheet on Canvas. These are important, and I put a lot of good tips on there, I think, and I put a lot of examples, so you'll be able to go through and see what I think is a good practice and what you should be doing during your shifts on Facebook for social and And here's Pinterest, which is an interesting platform. I think it's one of the fastest growing social media platforms. It is definitely used more by females than males. At least every survey I've seen has shown that. It's a place for recipes and fashion and lots of other things as well. We use it in this class mainly because I want you trying new platforms and trying new things out and trying to bend things to make them more journalistic. It's just good practice for you to do that. And there happens to be a big audience on Pinterest, so we might be able to catch some of them. So here's my tips. I think you should build boards that really interest you. So there's boards already there from past classes, but if something's really interesting to you that you think maybe other people would like or enjoy, go ahead and make a board. Give it a try. This is experimental. You should be trying things and seeing how they work. Definitely add the bookmarklet to pin things easily. It makes your life much easier. You could be just surfing around the web and you see something interesting. You go, hey, I'm going to pin that. Now, Pinterest is an incredibly visual medium, so you need to make sure you look for great photos. I would look for a great photo that goes with a news story over a great news story that has a mediocre photo. Credit the photos in the text and link back to the originator, the person who took the photo, whenever possible. Do it right in the comment section. Write snappy captions. I think this is a lost art in journalism, is the ability to write a caption that says more than, here's who's in this photo. Try to tell a little story with your caption. Repinning others makes this social. So we're following other Pinterest users. You should go out and try to find other Pinterest users that we should be following and then repin their stuff. You could also comment on their pins. You know, there's a comment section on each pin in Pinterest, and so that makes us kind of reach out more with our presence. Again, there's a cheat sheet on Canvas. I know Tumblr is kind of known for having silly content, but it could also be used for journalism, and that's why we use it in this class. Also, it is a very social blogging platform, so that fits in nicely. So here's my tips. Tumblr is a very visual blogging medium. We mainly use this as a photo blog in this class, and so look for great photos just like you would when you're working on Pinterest. Share those great photos, add some great captions, use our dashboard to follow other Tumblr users, and there are some good ones out there, believe it or not. You can reblog their posts when you see something good. Give some context to your posts even when you're reblogging. Try to add a little bit, maybe a link to a related story. Interaction on this one comes from favoriting and reblogging and commenting on other posts. Not all Tumblr blogs have commenting feature because it's a theme-specific feature of Tumblr. But when there is one, go ahead and leave a comment as our platform to try to get our name out there. And check out the cheat sheet. Now, we don't use Google Plus in this class. You know, when I started this class in the summer of 2012, I actually wanted to have Google Plus as one of our platforms, but Google made it very difficult to add the number of students who are in this class as admins. I ended up giving up on it that semester, and I haven't really looked back because I know there's some really strong niche communities on Google Plus, but it doesn't have the mass audience. Raise your hand if you're on Google Plus. I didn't think so. You can use Google Plus still to your advantage, even if you're not active on there. The Hangouts is a really good feature. It's a good way to interact with people. If you're at a news organization, you can actually broadcast out a Hangout. It's a good way to get live video on your site in a really easy format. You should take advantage of circles if you do use Google Plus. It's much like having a Twitter list, and so you want to put your people that you really care about in certain circles, or organize the people that you are friends with on Google Plus into circles. So if you do use Google Plus, don't just mirror what you do on other platforms. In fact, you should be really careful about trying to have a different voice on every platform you use because they're all slightly different. They all have different crowds. And so you want to make sure that you are tailoring your message and the way that you interact with people to your audience. Google Plus is really great for photos, and so you should explore that a little bit, especially on the mobile app. All right, and that's it on the platforms. Go ahead and take the quiz on Canvas, and we'll see you next time.